Is it possible to breastfeed after having a breast lift with implants? Again, another one I'm going to get berated for probably, because I'm going to say maybe. What can I do? The answer to these questions often isn't straightforward. The reason that breastfeeding is potentially in jeopardy when you have a breast lift, and it's the breast lift part of it that's doing it, not the breast implants. So if you're just having breast implants on their own, then yes, you can breastfeed, assuming you can breastfeed already. Having implants is not going to alter your ability to be able to breastfeed. Some people can't breastfeed, so you might not be able to breastfeed, but it won't be the implants that's doing that. So implants will not affect your ability to breastfeed because they kind of go behind the breast. But it's the breast lift aspect of it. So a breast lift, or worse, a breast reduction, both those operations involve moving the nipple. So we have to kind of move the nipple to a higher position. The nipple's sitting too low. That's basically the problem with a breast that requires a breast lift. So the nipple's sitting a bit too low. So you can lift the nipple, but that means you kind of have to isolate the nipple. So you're isolating the blood supply, you're isolating the nerve supply, and you're isolating the milk ducts. When you're doing that part of the surgery, you can't see the blood supply or the nerve supply or the milk ducts in the piece of tissue that's going to the nipple. So you don't know if there's certainly enough nerve supply and milk ducts. You can get an idea if there's enough blood supply because you can see the nipple's looking pink, that's fine. But if the nipple's looking sort of blue, then you're thinking, oh crikey, I've taken away too much tissue and there's not venous drainage, it's getting a bit engorged. So, but you can't really tell by looking if there's blood, if there's nerve supply or milk ducts in that piece of tissue that you're isolating the nipple on. So you have to kind of hope. Now, in breast reduction, there's more of a dissection is done around that nipple in order to remove all the tissue. So in a breast reduction, some breast tissue is removed. In a breast lift, no breast tissue is removed. You only remove skin. So in a breast lift, there is less isolation of the nipple. So there is more likelihood that those ducts will be intact going to the nipple. So there is more likelihood of you'll be able to breastfeed following a breast lift than there would be after a breast reduction. Having said that, you still have to isolate the nipple to a certain degree, and it kind of depends on the droop. We look at the nipple to sternal notch distance, so the distance from your nipple to your sternal notch here, and we look at how far we're going to have to move it. So the further you're going to have to move it, the more you're going to have to sort of isolate that nipple to release it and bring it up, and the more risk of problems with the blood supply, the nerve supply, and the milk ducts. So that if often with people with breast lift and implants, often you're not moving the nipple much. Often it's just a small transposition you need, and so there's less likely to have problems with breastfeeding. But you can never be 100%. So the main thing that ring, I'm not going to say alarm bells, but rings sort of like makes me kind of think when someone asks that question is I'm thinking, well, hold on a minute, are you telling me you're thinking of having children? Because if you're thinking of having children, I wouldn't have a breast lift with implants, because a breast lift with implants is quite an expensive operation, and a bit like what Lynn was saying earlier about, oh, what if I lose weight after a tummy tuck? I'm not going to say you undo the work, but you can have loose skin again. Same with a breast lift with implants. You have a breast lift with implants, fantastic, happy days. And then you have a child. Well, that's the reason people need breast lift with implants, because children can mess things up. Your milk breasts get engorged, they get bigger, and then when you finish breastfeeding, they often get smaller. Sometimes they stay big, sometimes they get smaller. They can change, is the point. They can change after having children. So ideally, you wouldn't have any kind of breast reshaping surgery until you finish your family, ideally. Now, you might say, I'm not going to finish my family for 10 years or something like that, so I want to get it done now. Fine, as long as you're aware that if you did have children, you might have, your breasts might change shape and you might not be as happy with them as you were. Plus, you might not be able to breastfeed. So ideally, you would finish your family before having this sort of surgery. But it's if you didn't want to, that's fine. But you'd have to, usually we have a consent form, and on the consent form, inability to breastfeed, or at least in the, we tell you that there is a risk that you may not be able to breastfeed. Although, as I say, if the transposition is small, you might be fine, but we couldn't give you 100% on that. The only way to get 100% is to have a child in the sea. Because as I say, some people can't breastfeed, and even without any surgery. So